Okay, I hope that we're live and that you can hear me really well and that I find you this morning live, alert, and enthusiastic. We're learning some things about math today. Let's start with prayer and then we'll go into our first subject. So, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. I pray that you would just be with our families and students that are represented at Grace Christian School, and that you would keep them safe and healthy, and that they would put in the efforts that they need to learn the concepts while they're distance learning. I thank you for the opportunity for me to teach today, and I pray that you help me to make things understandable so that they can do a good job. Thank you for answering our prayers. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, hopefully you already have your book out in front of you. You should turn to page 86 and let's look over your homework last night. I hope you did a good job on that. I wish you were here so you could give me your feedback, but since you're not, then I'm going to give you the answers. And if you have missed an answer, be sure you write down the right answer and go back and rework the problem so that you know how you have made the mistake or where your mistakes are. And if you can't figure it out, then email me and we'll talk about it and try to make sure you understand how to get to the answer. All right, here we go on page 86, sharpening skills. Number 1, 312% of, and you already know if you see the word of, that means multiply, so hopefully you multiplied that. And you would have ended up with the answer, and make sure you put a dollar sign on there because that will count off on quizzes and tests. But it should have been $2,302.56. Number 2, you had to change 6 1/2% and then multiply, change it to a decimal. And then y'all did excellent on your quizzes. I got all the quizzes in but one, so you did really good on that. That answer would be $3.25. When you did the problem, it would have ended with a 0, but make sure you don't show that 0 in your final answer. Number 3 would have changed 3/4% into a decimal and then multiply, and you would have got $4.99. Number 4 is already set up for you right. Just have to count the 2 places for your decimal in your answer. 149.12. Number 5, you should have canceled out some stuff, which makes this a much easier math problem, and your answer would be 12/17. On number 6, again, you have to do an improper fraction and then do your multiplying, and you would have got 33 1/3%. Nope, no percent, 33 1/3. And on that one, you really didn't have to change it because 10 times 3 is, and you can figure it out. It had been improper and then reduce it. Okay, on the next one is a fraction with division. So hopefully you showed the work where you flipped that second term, and your answer would have been 1 1/6. Hopefully y'all all raised your hand, got 100% on that one. Okay, round off to the nearest hundredth. We talked about this yesterday before we ended the video, that you have to go to the thousandths to see if it rounds the hundredths. So on this division problem, you would have gotten 32.051, but your final answer would be 32.05 because that 1 doesn't make it round. Okay, on number 9, you would have got 26.330, and your final answer would be 26.33 because again, the 0 doesn't make it round. And then number 10 would be 0.56, okay? This one says write these percents as a decimal. So 7/8% is 0.00875. Number 12 would be 1.19. Number 13, 0.473. 14.035. And that's the end of that one. Hopefully I did 100% on 1 through 14. Then we had our chart that we had to do at the bottom. And 15, it says less than 20, so you had to subtract first and then do your multiplying, and your price now would be $6.80. On number 16, more than, so you're going to have to add 100 to 76% and get $154.88. Number 17, the answer would be $147.75. Number 18, $6,882.75. And then number 19, $112.50. So hopefully you got that chart. If you have any questions, be sure you let me know. All right, that's all the homework. Hopefully you did really great on that. Make sure you work at it hard so that you'll be ready for quizzes and tests as they come about. So we want to make sure you do that. I want to do one quick review. I know you've seen this before, but if you're like me, if I don't review it, I'll forget it. And there are equal signs this direction, and then cross over this direction. And when you do that multiplication, multiply 8 times 10, and then 5 times 16, they will equal each other. And hopefully you remember that this one is called the means, and this one is called the extreme. So in a quiz, if they ask you to list the means, then you would list 8 and 10. And if they ask you to list the extremes, then you would list 5 and 16. So hopefully y'all remember doing that. That's just a quick review to make sure you don't forget means and extremes. You multiply and they equal each other. All right, today we're going to be talking about percentages. I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of times when I'm looking at math and I have a math problem and I'm thinking, how do I set up this math equation or this math problem, especially if it's a word problem? Sometimes it gets really confusing, but I really like it when we're looking for percents, because every time you're looking for an answer that's a percent, you do exactly the same thing. It's not like you have to figure out what comes first, what comes second, what, all that. So look over here, if you can remember this, whenever you're asking for an answer that's going to be a percent, you're always going to take your smallest number and divide by your largest number. And the reason why that works every time is because, remember, when we are looking for percents, we want to have a decimal number. Okay, so you're going to have a decimal something, 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 something. Move it twice, and then you have your answer with a percent sign. And when you put the small underneath your division and the large on the outside, it automatically is going to make it turn into a decimal answer. And then you can switch it over to a percent sign. And y'all do such a great job with that. Let's do a couple of these practices real quickly. I'm going to give you the answers, but hopefully if you're there at home, say them out loud. Let your parents know how smart you are, that you know all these, okay? I've got several more than we haven't had in the past, so we're going to take the percent that's already here this time and go to a decimal equivalent. So the decimal equivalent here, 0.256. And again, hopefully you're saying them out loud, 0.727. And this one, 0.0575. Did I do that one too fast? Y'all do these so quick in class. This one is 0.105. This one, 0.033. This one, 1.53. Come on, y'all can do it. Don't give up. I'm not there to hear you, but I want to make sure you can do it. 1.3. This one's easy. Just 5. Remember, you have 100 on the bottom, it automatically changes it. This one, 0.05. Oh, sorry, 0.04. Y'all, yes, I know y'all all got that one. 0.01. I know you all got this one. 0.73. These are really easy. 0.23, because we have hundreds on the bottom. 0.07. Remember, on some of our math problems, I told you that if you can get the denominator to move from 25 to 100, then you easily can change it into a percent, because when you have 100 on the bottom, you just put your decimal in the 0.159, but you also just put your 19% there. Okay, we're going to do one like that in a minute. All right, this one, 0.025. 0.082, and the last one, 0.0925. Hopefully you did really well on all those. We're going to see them again in just a minute as we work on something else. Okay, look at the percents up here. Again, we already talked about how to find a percent. And these are kind of the steps that you want to take. The first thing you want to do is set it up as a fraction, okay? And I'm going to show you that in a minute. And then ask yourself, can I get the denominator to hundreds? Because if you can, then you automatically know what the percent is, so that makes it nice. And if you can't do that, then can you reduce it? Because I don't know about y'all, but long division is time consuming. So if you can reduce it, then your long division is going to be shorter too. Okay, so on 12 over 50, set it up as a fraction. And this goes back to these we were looking at a while ago. We can get the bottom one to go to 100, right? Real easily. Times 2 times 2. You multiply them by 2 on the top and the bottom. This goes to 100, this goes to 24. And so automatically you know what that percent is, because it's in the hundreds, so you got 24%. Wouldn't it be nice if they were all that easy? Okay, let's look at this one. All right, 6 over 32. Same thing we did before, set it up as a fraction. Looking at your steps here, set it up as a fraction and ask yourself, can you get it to hundreds? That one we could. This one, no, not really easily. So then ask you the next thing, can you reduce it? Oh yeah, we can make it a lot easier. So 2 into 6 would be 3, and 2 into 12 would be 6. And then you probably already have it memorized, 3/6. And so then you wouldn't be able to, sorry, you already be able to put it in the fraction. 6 over, did I write that one right? 6 over 32. Put 6 over 12. Oh, that didn't look right. Okay. Sorry about that. 6 over 32. Alright, and then it still is 2. 2 will go into that. 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 into that would be 16, 3/16. Alright. I know that looks more like it. Okay, and then 3/16. If you had to do the long division, it would be 3 divided by 16. Make sure you set it up right. I know sometimes you'll get these backwards and do 32 divided by 6, but you read it from top to bottom. 6 divided by 32, okay? Or if you have it memorized, that'd be great. The 3/16 equals 0.1875, okay? And we're looking for a percent as your answer, okay? That's why we're practicing these, going from a percent to a decimal and from a decimal to a percent. So our final answer has to be moved over twice. And so then you get 18.75%. And then make sure you read your directions, because sometimes on your homework or sharpening skills or quizzes, they'll say round it to the nearest whole percent. And so the nearest whole percent on this one would be 19%. Okay? Hopefully you got all of that, and it was totally easy, and you know how to do it from now on. I'm going to leave this here just so you can remember to think about that. If you would, go ahead, and if you don't have your books still open from looking at homework, open them up, because we're going to talk about what the book says, and they give you examples of this so that you don't have to worry about, what did she say on the video? You can look at back in the book and figure it out. Look at page 87 and read along with me. Find percents. When the percent and the base number are given, the percent can be found by finding what fraction part the percentage is of the base, okay? Use these steps to find what the percentage is. Step 1, change to a fraction if you can. Change the fraction to a decimal, and then change the decimal to a percent. And I just put one extra one in there in case you can move it to 100, help us to remember that one. Okay, look at the example 5.9a. 27 is what percent of 60? Okay, small divided by large. So your small's on top, large on the bottom. On this one, they could reduce it down to 9 over 20, and then they did the division and got 0.45. And then you move your decimal over twice and add your percent sign. Okay, or they showed also how you can move it to 100. Okay, it was 20 as on the bottom. So from 20, you can move to 100, and the top would be 45, and you'd be done. So do either one of those. Hopefully you got that. Looking at 5.9b, they said on this one, Miss Morgan has 18 boys and 15 girls in her English class. What percent of the students are boys? Find the answer to the nearest whole percent, okay? Now on this one, you have to figure out 18 plus 15 to get your base, because altogether students is 33, okay? So that's why they had to do it together. So that's going to be your base, and then they're looking for boys, not girls, so pick up the number for boys, which is 18 on the top, and then reduce it, and you get 6 over 11, and then you see here that that's 55% when they did the long division. okay? Don't forget, sometimes you do have to add together to get your base. You can't just automatically grab one and then pick whatever you need to for the top number. All right, turn the page. All right, at this time, I want you to pause your video and work on practice problems 1 through 9. I don't know how long you'll need to take for that one, but just however long you need to, and then start the video again. On this one, it does say find it to the nearest whole percent. Okay, on the first one, hopefully you did 42 over 58, 42 over 48. You can reduce that down to 7.8, 7 over 8. And then when you do if you have it memorized, 0.875, move your decimal over twice. You do 87.5, and that does round to 88% to get the whole percent, to the nearest whole percent. Okay? On number 2, 24 over 28 will reduce 6/7. And then you can do the division, 6, make sure you put 6 and divided by 7, and get 0.857. Move your decimal twice, and then round. It would be 85.7, and this one will make it round, so your final answer is 86%. Okay, number 3 should have been really easy. You can do it all in your head, 12 over 20, and we know we can move from 20 to 100 really easily, and that would make your top number 60, so that's 60%. On number 4, 68 over 108, it reduces down to 17 over 27. Do your long division, and you would get 0.629. Move your decimal over twice, and you'll end up with 62.9, and round to the nearest whole percent would be 63. Okay, on number 5, 35 over 72. On this one, won't reduce, so you just have to do your long math. 35 divided by 72 is on the outside. Make sure you get it in the right order. And when you do that long division, you should have gotten 0.486. And you move it over twice, that's 48%, but the 6 will make it round, so you get 49 as your final answer. Okay. On number 6, 430 over 555 will reduce down to 86 over 111, and you have to do the long math, and you'll end up with 0.774, and move your decimal twice, be 77.4, and the 4 doesn't make it round, so your final answer is 77. On number 7, 142 over 184 reduces to 71 over 92, long division. Make sure you get your decimals in the right spot. On this one, you have to annex a lot of zeros because you've got to be able to find, if we're going to do percentages, remember you have to show 3 places here. Okay, so you are going to have to annex some zeros so you can find out if that's going to make that one round or not. So on this one, you should have annexed 3 zeros and got 0.771. When you move your decimal over twice, 77.1, and the 1 doesn't make it round, so it's just 77%. Okay, on this one, 33 over 66. This one's easy. It reduces all the way down to a half, which you know is 0.5, which is 50%. Okay, and then number 9, 205 over 250 reduces down to 41 over 50. It actually reduces easily. 41 over 50, now that we have 50 in the denominator spot, we can go to 100, okay? So 50 times 2 is 100. 41 is on the top times 2, gives you 82 over 100, and now we know that's 82%. Okay, let's look at problem solving. It says the soccer team Gavin plays on won 12 out of 33 games they played. What percent of games did they win, and what percent did they lose? Okay, on this one, they already told you how many games they played. Okay, if they said they won 3 games and lost 10 games, then you would have to add those together to get your base number. But on this one, it already gave it to you. It says 33 games were played, so that's going to be your base number. And they want to find out what percentage game did they win. So win is going to be on the top. So you end up getting 12 over 33, which will reduce down to 4 over 11. And then when you do your long division, Hopefully y'all can set that up. 4 divided by 11. You have to annex some zeros again to get 3 places to see if it's going to round. Okay? And so the financial there is 36% won. So if you already know how many they won, what kind of math do you do to find out how many they lost? Okay? All the games together is 100% of the games they played, right? So you have 100% played, subtract what they won, 36%, and you're left with what they lost, 64%. Okay? Pause your video for just a minute and see if you can solve 2, 3, and 4 on your own, and then start the video again when you're ready. Okay, let's talk about number 2. A suit that originally sold for $250. Circle that word original. You're going to need this in a little bit. When we're setting up things, you need to know what the original is, because your original is going to be the number that you have to get when you get several different kinds of numbers. We're going to talk about that in the next little bit here. Sold for $250 and was reduced to $170. Find the percent of reduction. Anytime you have reduction or less or more or better or worse, any of those words should make you automatically think of subtraction. Okay, so you're going to have to subtract something before you can do your percentages. Okay, and it says here the amount of reduction is 250 minus 170. So when you do that, you should have gotten 80. And then you take 80 divided by the original number. So 80 divided by 250, hopefully y'all got all that, would have terminated as 0.32, move your decimal over twice because we're looking for a percent, and you would be at 32%. Okay, on number 3. She missed 11 questions on the test of 65 questions. What percent of the questions did she miss? Okay. Right, on this one, you set it up as a fraction again, 11 over 65, or 11 divided by 65. Okay, and when you do that long division, you should get 0.169. Move your decimal over twice, 16.9, but it's rounding to the whole percent, so the answer is 17%. And number 4, hopefully you got this one, it's not that hard. He had saved $65, but he spent $21 on the new ball. What percent of his savings did he spend? Okay, so again, set up like a fraction. 21's on the top. How much he saves on the bottom? So 21 divided by 65. And when you get that one, it doesn't terminate, but you can stop once you get to this third place here to see if it's going to make it round or not. And you should have got 0.323, and then to the whole percent would be 32% because it did not round. Alright, I want you to pause the video again, and for just a second on sharpening skills, I want you to work the odds. Okay, just the odds on the sharpening skills. On the first section it says find each percent to the nearest whole percent. Okay, so you gotta go to this third place round to see if it for the whole percent. So pause your video as long as you need to and do the odds on sharpening skills. And then we'll come back and talk about the answers real quickly. And then you have 2 solve the word problems, so that might take a little bit longer. So pause as long as you need to, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, hopefully you've turned the video back on, and we're going to talk about the answers on these. I'm just going to quickly give you the correct answer, and if you have a question about why did that be the right answer, I picked the other one, then just email and I can talk to you really quickly about it. Okay, number 1, your answer would be 65%. Number 3, 64%. Number 5, you should have circled number 0.6. Remember, if we annex a 0 there, 60 is bigger than 56. Number 7, you should have circled 76% of 100. Number 9, you should have circled 125% of 100. Number 11, you should have circled 17 over 19. Number 12, 13, that's odd. Number 13 should be $7,300.80. Number 15 should be 0.1 times 490, or you just move your decimal once and you have 49. Make sure you don't show the 0 after a decimal. Alright, and number 17 is $41.69. So hopefully you got all of those correctly. Alright, and then let's look at the odds down here and solve the word problem. On number 19, the annual rainfall for last year for one city was 12% more. Circle the more if you didn't already catch that. So you know you're going to have to do some kind of adding in here. So 12% more than the average annual rainfall of 55 inches. To the nearest inch, find the rainfall for last year. Remember, we're looking for inches now, so we're not doing necessarily the small divided by large that we've been practicing. Okay? So when you have more, remember we did this on some previous lessons, anytime you have more, okay, what percent was the 55 inches to start with? Okay, more. To start with, 55%, 55 inches is 100% of the problem. We're talking about 55 inches of rain, okay? But now we want to find out how much more, so we got 12 there, so you have to add 12 to it. Okay, so 112%. Then move your decimal over twice. Remember, we cannot use 112% in a math problem. You have to use it as decimal. So 1.12 times 55. Okay? So that's how you set it up. Hopefully when you did that, if you need to pause and do the math real quickly, if you didn't set it that way, you can pause and do that. But once you do the answer, it's 61.60, and we want to know inches, okay? And we've got 2 decimals here, so you've got to move it over 2 decimals in your answer. So you would have got 61.6. And then it says to the nearest inch of rainfall. So the 0.6 will make it round up, and your answer was 62 inches. Okay? On number 21, it says Sophia Murphy spent $80 on her $200 birthday money on a new Sunday dress and shoes. What percent of money did she spend? Okay? Again, we're looking for this time a percent. And what did I say before? Anytime your answer is in a percent, you do small divided by large. Small divided by large. Okay, so what's your smallest number in this one? Is 80, or this one's going to be easier if you set it up as a fraction, 80 over 200. Haha, don't we love to cross out some zeros? Because that makes it nice and easy. And the other thing too is you can already make it go up to 100 if you need to. What times 20 will get you to 100? Okay, so you multiply it by 2 over 2, and now we have 16 over 100? 40 over 100. Ah, if you don't leave out your zeros, 40 over 100. Okay, let's do it that way too. Several different ways you can do it. Okay, we're divided 80 over 200. You can do the same thing that we did before, divide by 2, and that gets you to 100 even quicker. So that gives you 40, and that gives you 100. And now we already know if it's 40 over 100, we got 40%. Okay, so a lot of different ways to look at it. Divide it this way, a little bit longer. You can reduce it by dropping your zeros. Or on this one, it would have been easier just to divide them both by 2. And you get 100 on the bottom, and that automatically gives you your percent. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. 3 different ways to do it, but we want to pick the one that's most accurate and fastest. All right, now we're going to talk about finding percent of increase. You need to circle the word increase. Just like before I had you circle the word more. That means they're going to go up. Circle less, you know it's going to go down. If it has a discount, you know it's going to go down. So you need to think about these things, because when you have increase, you always, before like we said, you're going to have to add something. Okay? All right, on this one, percent of increase. Look at what it says here on page 89. Follow along with me as I read with you. Find the percent of increase. Use these steps to find the percent of increase. Find the numerical increase. The numerical increase of an enrollment that goes from 100 students to 150 students is 50. What's the difference in the two? It increased 50, okay? Number two, find what percent the numerical increase is of the original number. Remember a while ago I had you circle original because you're going to need to know this when you're finding increase, percents of increase. Okay? The numerical increase is always the numerator and the original number is always your denominator. Reduce the fraction to lowest terms, change the fraction to a decimal, and then change it here. So you follow these same steps once you get it into the fraction form. You just got to make sure you pick the right numerator, the right denominator to find out increases. And remember, if you're going to increase, there's always some kind of subtraction that has to go on to find out the difference. Not that necessarily are we subtracting because it's going to go lower, but we're subtracting to find out the difference in the two, okay? And then you set up as a fraction, check to see if you can change the denominator to hundreds, and then if you can reduce, if not, then you have to do long division. Look at example 5.10. It says a washing machine that cost $315 last fall now costs $350. Find the percent of increase. So it went up. We already know that. $315 was one price. Now it went up to $350 to the nearest whole percent. So the first thing you have to do if you're finding increase is subtract. Okay? So they did that. They found the difference of $35. Okay? 35, when you find the difference, that's going to be your numerator. And the original cost, this is where some people get confused. They may pick up the $350 of what it was now. Can't do that. You've got to pick up the original cost of $315 as your denominator. Okay? And as you see here on the example problem, they reduced it down to 7/63 and reduced it down again to 1/9, and you have 1/9 probably memorized. So it's 0.11, which becomes 11%. Okay? So the washing machine now costs 11% more, and you do want to write more or increase in your answers when you see them on quizzes and tests. Okay, if you have any questions about that, let me know. Turn the page to page 90. Again, we're doing a lot of work today, but you're doing an awesome job, I'm sure, there at home. And I love that you can pause the video and take as much time as you need to answer these, but please do answer them on your own first. Do your best to work them and figure them out, because the setting up of the problem is what's going to make you successful when you take your quizzes and tests. So pause right now. I want you to do practice problems. It says find the percent of increase to the nearest whole percent. Let's look at number 1 first before you pause. Let's do it together. It said they had 18 pairs of shoes, and now they have 21 pairs. So we know it increased, okay? So you're going to find out what's the difference between 18 pairs to 21 pairs, and that's 3, okay? So 3 is going to be your numerator. And originally, it was only 18, so that's your denominator. Reduces down to 1/6, which ends up equaling, you have this memorized, 0.16 repeating. And so 6666 would make it round to 17%. Okay? All right, pause now if you can and do, let's just do the odds. And if you miss 3 and 5, then practice on your own doing 4 and 6 just to make sure that you know how to do increase. Okay, because we're going to do some more of this in just a minute. So pause and do 3 and 5, and then I'll come back and go over it with you. Okay, look at 3 and 5. The price during the sale was $16. The price after the sale was $18. So you can do that in your head easily. $2. 2 is your numerator. The original cost at the very beginning of the whole problem was 16. That's your denominator. Reduces down to 1/8, which is 0.125. Move your decimal twice. That ends up being 12.5, and it says round to the nearest whole. So that does make it round to 13%. And write the word increase there, because we want to know that it increased 13%. Okay. On number 5, tuition last year was $325 a month, and now it's $375. Okay, so find the difference in the two. You know that in your head is $50. Okay, 50 is your numerator. The original cost at the beginning last year was $3.25. That's your denominator. That'll reduce down to 2/13, which will divide. You'll have to divide this one. 2 divided by 13 goes on the outside. Make sure you get it correct. And then you're going to have to annex 3 zeros again to get to the thing I said before. So you get 3 places here in the hundredths to see if it's going to affect the thousandths. Thousandths to see if it affects the hundredths. Okay, and so you should have got, when you did the long division, 0.153. Move your decimal over twice. Is 15. 3 doesn't make it round, so 15% increase. Don't forget to put your words there. Okay, I know I didn't have you do 2, 4, and 6, but they're done exactly the same way. You just have to make sure you get the difference as your numerator and the original number they give you as your denominator. Okay, let's look at problem solving. On his first test in math, Eric got 35 of the problems correct. His sister Tina got 42 problems correct. Find the percent more. Okay, Tina answered correctly. Okay, this is the same thing as an increase. You want to find out what the difference was in the two that they did. Okay, so you got to find the difference between 35 and 42. 35 and 42. Okay, and then it says find the percent more that Tina answered correctly. Okay, so you take Tina's and divide, and you should get 20% more. Round to the nearest whole. Number 2, Kevin Bell had 75 stamps in his stamp collection until his cousin Jay gave him 10 more. Okay, find the percent of increase to the nearest whole percent. Okay, you just can't add 10 to the 75. He did get more, but we want to know the percent of increase. So you, just like we did on the rest of the problems, you have to find the difference in the two first. How much was the increase? So 75 minus 10 would be your numerator, and then your denominator would be 75 because that was the original. And then you go through this process, setting up your fraction. Can it be go to 100, and then can you reduce? And after you do that, you should get 13% increase. Okay, on number 3, for the fall semester, Faith Christian School had an enrollment of 520 students. The spring semester enrollment was 550. Find the percent. Remember, percent is going to be small divided by large. But it says increase to the nearest whole, so you've got to find the difference. We're going to subtract to see how much increased. That will be your numerator. And then your denominator is what the students were in the very beginning, 520. And then you can reduce that, get it to 100, and you'll get 6% increase. And then the last one, a dining room suit that cost $2,800 last year now costs $3,400. Find the percent of increase to the nearest whole percent. Okay, so anytime you see percent of increase, not only are you going to have to keep your answer in a percent, which is going to be eventually small divided by large, but you've got to find the difference first. Okay, if it's an increase, you've got to subtract, find the difference in the two. That's your numerator. And then your denominator is the original price in this one, so $2,800. And then do what you need to get rid of zeros, okay, or get it to 100 in the denominator, or do the long division. And when you do that one, you should have got a 21% increase. All right. Wow, we did a lot of math today. I'm sure you did an awesome job on answering all these questions. And for your homework tonight, I want you to do sharpening skills on page 90. Don't forget that 1, 2, 3, 4 are part of a chart, but right beside it, still on page 90, is 5, 6, and 7. It says find the percent. Okay. And then on the next page, on 91, you have 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, so sharpening skills 1 through 11 on page 90 and page 91. So hopefully you'll do great. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you later.